Have you ever wondered how a conflict spanning 7 years altered the face of the world as we know it? This pivotal period of history, known as the 7 Years' War, is an enthralling study that commands attention. It's an event that surged across continents, reaching from the chilly expanses of Europe to the scorching deserts of Africa and beyond. It's not just a war, it's a canvas of human ambition, resolve, and resilience. Unfolding over a span of 7 years, it's often dubbed as mankind's first global conflict, a story that encapsulates raw power, cunning strategy, and the capacity of humans to change the world. Alongside being a military standoff, it simultaneously brought about political, economic, and social transformations. The 7 Years' War, often described as the first global conflict, is a fascinating study of power, strategy, and global change. Dive back with me to the mid-18th century, to the year 1756. It was a pivotal moment in history, poised on the precipice of what would become one of the defining conflicts of the century. Europe was a simmering cauldron of power and alliances, a complex web of nobility and ambition, with a tapestry of kingdoms and empires etching their names in the annals of time. In this vast landscape of power and politics, two significant alliances emerged. The Kingdom of Great Britain and the Kingdom of Prussia, bound by strategic interests, stood on one side. Their leaders, driven by a desire for supremacy and expansion, were formidable forces on the European stage. On the other side of this chessboard was the Austro-French alliance, a coalition as diverse as it was powerful. An alliance that brought together the esteemed Habsburg monarchy, a dynasty that held sway over large swathes of Europe, the French kingdom, revered and respected for its military prowess, and the mighty Russian Empire, an enigma wrapped in the mystery of its vast territories. This alliance also included other nations, each with its unique strengths and aspirations. The seeds of this conflict sown in the fertile ground of regional power struggles, their roots reaching deep into the fabric of these kingdoms and empires. Yet, as we will see, the implications of this struggle were far-reaching, rippling outwards from the heart of Europe to impact the entire globe. This conflict, initially rooted in regional power struggles, soon spread its tendrils across the globe. In the early years, the conflict remained largely confined to Europe, a region of tumultuous power shifts and fragile alliances. The European continent became a chessboard, with nations moving their pieces in a game of strategic dominance, all against the backdrop of a war-torn landscape. Yet, in 1758, the tides of the conflict began to shift dramatically. A decision was made, one that would change the course of the war and influence the future of nations. Britain, an emerging global power, resolved to expand its arena of conflict. In a bold, unprecedented move, the British Empire decided to open a fresh front thousands of miles away across the vast, uncharted waters of the Atlantic Ocean. This new front was located in the densely forested landscapes of North America, a territory teeming with untapped resources and potential. This theater of war was christened as the French and Indian War. An entirely different battleground, it saw Britain and its fledgling American colonies facing off against the formidable French forces and their strategic Native American allies. This war was not just about territory, but about control, power, and the promise of a new world. This theater of war, known as the French and Indian War, saw Britain and its American colonies face off against French forces and their Native American allies. As the war raged on, the year 1759, popularly hailed as the Year of Victories, witnessed an unprecedented string of British victories that shook the global political scene to its core. This was not a year of minor skirmishes or inconsequential territorial disputes. Instead, it marked the strategic acquisition of critical territories that had far-reaching implications. This was the year the British Empire proved its military might and strategic acuity by bringing under its control significant regions that had previously been under French rule. From the vast and resource-rich expanse of Quebec in North America to the culturally diverse and economically significant Pondicherry in India, each victory was a crushing defeat to the French colonial empire, diminishing its influence and reach. They seized key territories, including Quebec in North America and Pondicherry in India, dealing a heavy blow to the French colonial empire. In the years that followed, a war-ridden Europe, exhausted and depleted, yearned for peace. The continent, wearied by the ceaseless conflict, sought respite from the tumultuous times. Taking center stage in this chronicle was the expansive Russian Empire, governed by the newly enthroned Tsarina Catherine the Great. A leader of remarkable vision, Catherine took a monumental decision. In a strategic move that was to change the course of the war, she decided to withdraw her forces from the war in the year 1762. This withdrawal meant that Prussia was left to fend for itself. The mighty Prussian forces were now alone, having to contend against the combined might of the Austrians and the French. The situation seemed bleak for Prussia, as their allies had abandoned them. The odds were stacked against them, but they held firm, demonstrating their resilience and courage. Despite the setback of losing their most significant ally, a sense of determination prevailed among the Prussian ranks. Prussia did not waver. They refused to succumb to this setback, demonstrating an indomitable spirit that turned the tide in their favor. The turning point came with a decisive victory at a significant battle that would go down in the annals of history. The Battle of Burkersdorf proved to be the game-changer for Prussia. It was a hard-fought battle, a testament to Prussian valor and strategic acumen. It was this decisive victory at Burkersdorf that marked the beginning of a new chapter in the war. Prussia held firm, turning the tide in their favor with a decisive victory at the Battle of Burkersdorf. Finally, in 1763, the conflict drew to a close with the signing of the Treaty of Paris. It was this historic event that marked the end of an era of global conflict, shifting the tides of power and reshaping the geopolitical landscape of the world. This pivotal treaty, signed in the grand halls of the Palace of Versailles, marked the end of a long, grueling war that had spanned almost a decade and claimed the lives of countless soldiers, civilians, and monarchs. The Treaty of Paris is a testament to the power of diplomacy, negotiation, and compromise, but it also marked a significant change in the global balance of power. The British Empire, bolstered by its grand navy and colonial resources, emerged as the world's dominant power, overshadowing the once formidable rivals in Europe. Britain's victory was not just a victory for its monarch, King George III, but for the British people and their New World colonies, who were promised new lands and opportunities in North America and India. In contrast, France, which was once a significant power player in Europe, suffered a devastating blow. The war had strained its resources, weakened its military, and shattered its international image. At the end of the war, France was left humiliated, its treasury emptied, its military might diminished, and its global influence waning. This was the beginning of a tumultuous period for France and set the stage for the French Revolution later in the century. The 7 Years' War, despite its name, was a global conflict that spanned continents and impacted countless lives. It was a war that redefined the world's map, reshuffled the world's empires, and laid the groundwork for the modern world order. It was not just a war of territorial conquest, but also a war of ideologies, alliances, and colonial interests. The war demonstrated the importance of naval supremacy, as Britain's Grand Fleet dominated the high seas, cutting off enemy supply lines and ensuring the safe passage of its troops. It highlighted the value of global strategy and alliances, as nations formed and broke alliances to protect their interests and extend their reach. It also underscored the potential for colonies to tip the balance of power, as the colonies in India and North America became the stage for proxy wars and strategic battles. The war also marked a turning point in warfare tactics and technology. The use of new military strategies, the development of more destructive weapons, and the deployment of new types of soldiers and units changed the face of warfare. It forced nations to rethink their military strategies, leading to significant advancements in military technology and tactics that would shape future wars. But more than that, the 7 Years' War changed the way we view the world. It showed us that what happens in one corner of the globe could have far-reaching effects, resonating across continents and oceans, affecting the lives of people thousands of miles away. It was a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of our world, of how a war in Europe could affect the politics in India or the colonies in America. So, the next time you look at a map, remember, the lines drawn on it, the nations marked out, they're not just the result of natural boundaries or ancient history, they're also the legacy of conflicts like the 7 Years' War. Wars that, in their wake, left a world forever changed.